Welcome back to Severe MMA, the first interview for me in 2023, and there's no person I'd rather be talking to other than Mama B herself. It's been a while, Shauna. Thanks for joining me today. Happy New Year to you. How are things? How are you keeping?
Happy New Year. Yeah, things are good. Great. I had a nice little break over the Christmas, so I'm ready to go for 2023.
Nice, nice. Yeah, look at like I was said, it was nearly. We were talking a little bit before. There's nearly 6 months, I think, before the Chia Toe fight. We were talking last, and plenty has happened since then. You've accumulated a couple of titles. You signed with Invicta. You won your Invicta debut. You had a lot going on in 2022. You must have been very happy with everything. 4 fights, 4 wins, and a very good and memorable year for you overall, really.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was a great start to my professional career. Um, like at the time, each fight I wasn't happy, but like no, looking back and reflecting on the year as a whole, I done what I set out to do. I wanted to have 4 fights, and I got 4 fights, and I had 4 wins. So as an overall, I'm happy, but there's obviously I'm a perfectionist, so there's obviously things that I wasn't happy with, decisions I made in fights and the way certain things went. But I got 4 wins, so that's a bonus, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it could have worked out a hell of a lot worse. But that's the thing. Like, you have to find out a lot of stuff about yourself when you're in the cage. And that's the unfortunate thing for fighters, But you learned a lot of lessons. And, going back to the Chia Toe fight, it was a relatively straightforward fight for you. Which kind of moved you into the position to get signed up in Invicta. And I know we had been talking in around that signing to get that news out there as well. I'd love to kind of talk to you about that experience. I've not had the chance to really talk to you about the whole signing experience, the build up to the fight itself, and the aftermath as well. It must have been a fantastic experience for me looking from the outside in. It felt like that's where you belong. It was just like the perfect pit for you and for Invicta at the same time as well. And the whole experience must have been brilliant for you.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think it was a no-brainer. I did have a couple of different options to go with. I kind of wrote down the pros and cons of them all, spoke to people that fought on all the promotions that I had offers with, but even deep down, I kind of knew myself before even speaking to everyone else and going through all the pros and cons. I knew that Invicta was the route that I wanted to go with. Like, you've seen what they've done with other females and the people that have been world champions there and elsewhere, and where they've gone on to. It's an amazing organization. They treat you so well. When I went, everyone's just so sound. Like, when I went over, it was just clicked with everyone. Everyone was like great buzz, just positive vibes the whole week. It was an unreal experience, and like, I'm so grateful for everyone on the team. Each and every one of them was literally so sound. I couldn't get over it. I was like, normally there's one person that's like, but like, everyone was just sound. I was like, this is unreal. You don't get that often.
No,
In any combat sports, like not just MMA. Like,
yeah, because you've been around the block as well for kickboxing and stuff like that as well. So it kind of it's up on a high par for you in comparison to anyone that you've been involved with in the past, eh?
Yeah, 100%. And I think like it's a major organization. Do you know what I mean? And getting a world title with them is a legit world title. So that's what I'm aiming for now at the moment.
Big time. So talking about your fight with Nadia Vera, I think, you said that you're a perfectionist, so you probably nitpicked it a lot. But for me, looking and having looked at a lot of your amateur fights and your professional fights, I was massively impressed by that performance overall, because you had to overcome a couple of hurdles during the fight. Obviously, when we're talking about round 1, even going for the takedown, ending up on your back, but adjusting into the triangle position, remaining calm. It's kind of like, what are the feelings for you in that kind of situation where you're anticipating signing for Invicta, you get in there, you start off really well, landing those bomb right hands on Nadia from the get-go, controlling the stand-up, little bit of maybe of an error of position to end up on your back. I'm sure that's not where you wanted to end up, but to make those adjustments, it must be a mad kind of scenario in your head during that. Like, are you still at the early stages of that fight thinking, holy shit, I'm fighting in Invicta here? Or are you kind of really kind of nailed in and focused on the task at hand?
Do you know what? Like, I think when I was over there, I was a lot more calm, because when I fought in Dublin previously, there was so many people there and there was a lot of pressure, and I was always the main event. So I was the last fight. So everybody was literally there for me, and the crowd, and like, there's pros and cons to that, because like, you get the buzz off it and you can feel that and you can drive that through. But then there's also like, I'm fucking shitting it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when I was over in Invicta, I was actually really calm the whole week. And even walking out, I was really, like, I was obviously nervous because you get nerves fighting and going into the cage to fight someone we both want to kill each other. But I was still a lot calmer than I had been in my previous pro fights. So I think going in, I was very calm. Like before I walked, Shannon came up to me and she was like, I'm giving out a bonus for finishing the night, so go do your thing. And like normally, like you'd think that would make you, but I was actually like, right, let's go. I have a job to do. Let's go do this. So I was fuming that I didn't get to finish. But but at the same time, no, like Nadia was very tough.
She's really very tough.
I didn't think she was gonna be that tough. Like I had seen previous fights and like she's strong in the clinch for a strawweight. Like when I fought strawweight against Kerry, like I felt so much stronger than her in the clinch. I was like playing. Whereas Nadia was good. Like I was like, oh, I had to work to get me position, and even in her striking, like she shocked me. Like, you know, she caught me with a few things. I felt I was very flat in that fight and like completely like it was like I was falling into her game. Like the only way that I thought before going in, I was like, if she swings a bomb, she might knock me out. That's kind of the only real thing. I was like confident in everything else. I was like, that's her best thing would be for that. And I was like, right, let's avoid that. But I felt like I kind of fell into that game where we were both swinging bombs in the pocket instead of me using my footwork in and out, not be hit. And like, that's the way I would normally fight. And I kind of felt like that was a little bit missing in that fight. Towards the end, maybe of it, I kind of got a little bit back, but I felt a bit flat in that fight.
I was just wondering, like I had recently watched back the fight because I knew you were coming on as well, and it was like she did connect. Probably her best round was the start of round 3 where she connected a bit. I think that her punches probably looked more effectful than they actually were on you because you had tried to go for the triangle in round 1 and round 2, and that's obviously very strenuous on your legs. So that's a question I had to you. Did you feel that maybe, you know, going for those triangles took a little bit away from your explosiveness on the feet going into the later rounds?
Yeah, definitely. Like I just felt flat. It probably could have been the triangle. I actually felt flat from before even. It was like when they said fight, it was just like my legs kind of went, and I was like, fuck. So I was just swinging. And then when I went to the floor, I actually felt like it was more kind of recovery. Then I was fine in the clinch. I was raging that I just didn't throw elbow sooner.
Oh, at the end of the end of round 2, you started to throw your first elbows off the back.
Yeah, like if I had done that 20 seconds earlier, the fight would have been stopped.
Yeah,
you know, it's just so many things. Looking back at that fight, like I can just pick out 10,000 things that I was like that like I normally wouldn't do that I done. So it's just one of them things that when you're under pressure and you're in the thing, like it's just.
People don't understand what it's like in there. There's so much shit going on, even before the fight and all the range of emotions, and then getting in there and like it's the ultimate problem solving scenario where you're getting hit in the face and trying to figure out position and stuff like that. It does get taken for granted when I think a lot of people are looking at fights, how difficult it is. Like in my small experience, for me, I found it absolutely crazy when I used to watch people just post up and land ground and pound, and how actually difficult it is to get posting in position to get your strikes off on the ground is such a difficult thing, let alone anything else that's going on at the time. But when I watch you and I seen you and how active you are off your back, you know, obviously with SevereMMA and some of the work that Shauna has been doing with judging as well, it seems that you're fairly in touch with how a judge wants a fight to be scored, and that's damage as well. So is that something that you were aware of, and is that something that yourself and Paddy kind of talk about before you go in and fight?
Yeah, 100%. We do sit down and watch fight. What fight was it? One of the Shelley brothers, and everyone's gone mad about the decision. We actually sat down. Yeah, Ryan. We actually sat down and watched that fight in a thing, and he was like scoring it in front of us to make us understand, because loads of people in the gym were like, oh no, we shouldn't have won that, and then loads were like, oh, you should have. So we sat down and done a scoring on it, and we do that quite regular with like fights that are controversial, because Paddy's like, no, this is how it should be scored, but it's not. On the local scene in Ireland, people don't do it as well, but like the likes of Invicta, they should be scoring correctly. Do you know what I mean? So it is in my head damage, rather than like just taking down and holding people. You have to be hitting them as well. Do you know what I mean? So, but that is one thing, like the hitting it while I had that triangle on. If I had just thrown elbows sooner, it's like looking back at it, I'm like, oh, screaming at myself, elbows.
Well, look at the same time too, though, and you said it even after your last fight as well. It's like you know, getting that in-cage experience and getting the 15 minutes under your belt is, you know, in one ways it's great to go out and live the dream where you go out and get an early knockout, but not having that in-cage experience in your early stages will come back maybe to haunt some fighters at the end of the day. Getting in there, getting the time and going through different scenarios and different emotions and different predicaments in the fight, that's only going to stand to you further down along in your career as well, I feel.
Yeah, no, 100%. You're dead right. Like, I want to be in the UFC. That's the long-term goal. And if I'm getting more minutes in competitive rounds, there's only so many minutes you can get in the gym. None of them are actually like what it's like in a fight.
No.
Like, as much as, like, even when I go over to spar Molly, like, we walk up the stairs in the gym and we're both looking at, and it's like a fight, but it's still not like a fight. We're still holding, and we're still, like, I'm not going to kick her with my hardest head kick, and she's not going to spin an elbow on me, because we're training partners at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? So there's nothing more like an actual fight. You can't get that in the gym.
Yeah, big time.
You can get close to it, but like, it's not the same.
Absolutely. Just maybe to touch a little bit back on the Invicta fight, one thing I was very, very impressed, and I'm curious to kind of maybe dig in a little bit in the advice that Paddy was given to you throughout the contest was excellent. And even more excellent, in my opinion, was your ability to follow those instructions at the same time. You know, you could create that tunnel vision, and I'm sure he's the only voice that you can hear in there, but in the midst of the madness, it's hard to kind of carry out. But I even seen you at one stage kind of stop and kind of listen a little bit harder. And then I think it was going for the belly down armbar in round 2 or something like that. But
yeah,
you know,
I remember at one stage when she had me in that headlock thing, when she reversed the takedown, I couldn't hear because my ears were covered. And I was like, I can hear the sound of his voice, but I don't know what the fuck he's saying. I'm like, oh, what are you saying? But yeah, no, I do. I listen to, I trust Paddy. Do you know what I mean? And it's very hard to get a coach that you trust. Like, I've been very lucky with my coaches over the years. Obviously, my dad was my coach in kickboxing. My taekwondo coach was the legit taekwondo coach, and now I have Paddy. So, like, I think it's very important to trust your coach, because if you don't have trust in them, then you're double guessing what they're saying, and you can't be doing that while you're under pressure already, on top of everything else that's going on in a fight. Do you know what I mean? And like, when Paddy's saying something to me, it's something that we've been drilling in the lead up to the fight. Like, not like we watch fights and then we have a game plan for the fight. So most of the things that he's saying to me, we've already practiced. And even if we haven't in particular for her, we've done it another time. Do you know what I mean? So me reacting to him, it's just muscle memory from training and all the hours that we put in together.
Big time. And like, no greater man to have in your corner as well as Paddy, who's been and done it all as well, being and fighting in the UFC. As a coach, what kind of mentality is he trying to instill into you? I'm sure, you know, he's very knowledgeable and very, you know, astute in everything that he says in regards to fighting, and having that experience and sharing that experience with you. What's the main message that he's telling you right now at this stage of your career?
Do you know what? He always just says, go and be Shauna Bannon. And like, because I have my style now, do you know what I mean? Whereas at the start, I was kind of like, what is it? But he's like, go out there and be Shauna Bannon. And to be honest, I don't feel like I've actually done that in my pro career. I have in my amateur, in the IMAFs and stuff like that, but I don't actually feel like I have showcased my abilities in my pro career yet. I've done a lot of work this, like, last year on so much, and I know that's going to show in my next fight. It's just there was a lot going on, and it was a lot, and I feel a lot more comfortable now. I know what I have to be, I know where I have to be, and what I need to do to be successful in this. And I think last year was just a build and getting used to it, getting the experience, getting the cage time, the traveling abroad over to Invicta, getting used to all that different. And I think next year is going to be me blowing up.
100%. Before we talk a little bit about next year, let's talk about your last fight against Kerry Isom. Obviously, you got in there. It was a difficult task to go in and fight a fighter that you had beaten and finished before. To try and top that performance adds a little bit of pressure. I want to ask you about a little bit of the reaction that happened before that fight. I had seen, and I'm not sure if you've seen, a little bit of negativity towards that fight. People were calling it a step back and stuff like that. What did you think of all of that talk when you seen it, or did you see it, or do you take any heed to that conversation at all?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't actually see any of it until, like, I sometimes don't really be paying attention. It was someone, I can't even remember who told me. I think I was overturning a college gym when someone said it about Dylan Logan, the comments that he made.
Yeah.
And he has a child. everyone has to put food on the table. Like, if I didn't take that fight, I wasn't going to fight. Nobody else. Paddy went above and beyond and texted so many people asking them to fight me. So did Deco. I wasn't looking for, and she wasn't an easy fight.
No, definitely
was. That goes to show. But because I had beaten her before and finished her before, everyone was like, oh, it's an easy fight, blah, blah, blah. But like, I have to provide for Jace. This is my job. I'm not going to say no to a fight because I've beaten someone before when I have no other option. Invicta wasn't giving me a fight because their last show was too close to when I had fought, and then there was it was just too fast, so the turnover wasn't right, and then that was their last show of the year. So if I'm going to defend one of my belts that I have, I'm going to do it. If that's the only fight, like, multiple people were asked all over Europe, like, sure. Multiple, and loads of people said no, and some people ignored, some people gave excuses. There was a lot of people asked behind closed doors. So for people to go and write them type of comments, especially fighters, like, whatever about people that don't understand and aren't in the shows, but fighters and someone that's a father, that pissed me off. I sent him a message. He sent me back an essay. I didn't even read it, to be honest. But like, I just think it's very disrespectful. Like, I'm a mother. I'm a lone parent. I provide for Jace. I'm the only income that he has. And if I'm getting a fight put to me on the table, I'm hardly going to say no to it. You know what I mean? 100%. Coming up to Christmas, everything else. Like, I'm at the early stages of my career. Everyone knows that at the start you don't get paid well. So each fight I'm going to take.
Yeah, 100%. And absolute credit to Invicta for allowing you to do that as well at the same time, because there's not a lot of promotions that you have the luxury of doing that. They're very protective of their fighters as well. So, no, it was great to see you getting that opportunity. And obviously you came through a tough fight with Kerry as well, who is a tough fight. And that's going to be, that win will look a lot better as well. Obviously, after getting the finish, you battled through. You talked to my good pal Andy after the fight as well. You said that, you know, you were more relieved than anything that the fight was over because you had a difficult camp, both physically and mentally. Were there injuries in the camp, or what was kind of going on around that time?
So at the start of my camp, my nose was broke from the fight before. So my nose was broke, and then I forgot my nose was broken. I went over to spar Molly, and then I remembered my nose was broke. I suffer with my nose. Like, my nose is one of them things that it's like, I break it and I'm grand. I just move on with it because it's happened a couple of times. But I went over and I sparred with Molly, and it got broke worse. So I couldn't spar for the first half of my camp. I was just doing everything else. And then the second half of the camp, I don't even want to get into it. It was just stressful.
You sure you don't want to get into it? No.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. We won't
conversation for another day.
Yeah, no problem at all. So
there was multiple things that went on, and it was just
for sure. Conversation. That's okay. No problem at all. We can move on. Overall, what was the highlight for your 2022?
I think my win with Invicta. That meant a lot. My debut or that, because my debut I was buzzing, and there was a lot, like, I was so nervous for that. Like, I don't think I've been more nervous for any other fight before, and I was just like, there was a lot of pressure. Do you know what I mean? Everyone was talking about, oh, she's making a pro debut, and I was like, and then everybody was there. It was in Tallaght, like, it was literally my hometown. Everybody was there. People are in skill, but like, people, like, just everyone was there. So there was a lot of pressure for that. So winning that was a huge relief, and I was so happy because I could deal with all my friends and family there. But then I think the Invicta one tops it. It was because if I'm not battering someone, I think I'm losing.
Yeah.
So when we were in Invicta is open scoring normally, but in Oklahoma, the state commission or whatever, it doesn't allow it to be open scoring. So after the first round, I'm like, Paddy, did I win that? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, but we know it's open scoring. And so he asked your mom was like, I don't know. And I was like, you're lying to me. I'm obviously after losing there. I was like, what's going on? Then the second round, the same thing happened, and I was like, these are lying to me. I was like, I need to finish in this third round. I was like, I'm losing. But then, like, obviously looking back on the fight now, I won every round. But at the time, honestly, like, if I'm not battering someone, I think I'm losing. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm thinking about the score, and I'm like, all right, I need to do this score. But unless I'm actually dominating, I'm like, I'm after losing. So I thought I lost that fight. So when I'm standing there waiting to get my hand raised, like, I'm acting confident, like, after, like, the fight, whatever, I'm walking around, I'm like having my hand in the air, but deep down I'm like, oh, I'm after losing. And then when I'm standing there and I'm like getting ready for my hand to be raised or her hand to be raised, I was like, I genuinely didn't know.
Yeah.
And when they said me, I was like, yep. Oh, buzzing.
But no, it worked out very well, and I had all 3 rounds scored for you as well. I was pretty confident watching along, and you know, it was great to see, and it's great to see yourself kind of being on that scene as well. Like you said, Invicta is the big show, and I'm excited to see what's around the corner in 2023. Before we get there, one last question. I'd love to know how. Look at your social media outreach is quite big, and you're going to get bigger as well, obviously with Invicta as well, with the extra pressure, with the extra like potential negativity that comes, because there's always going to be naysayers. But I guess from what you said the last time is that you probably don't really pay attention. Or is there anything that you're doing right now maybe to prepare yourself? Because in reality, Shauna, if things work out the way that they're going to work out, you're going to be a pretty big star within Ireland and within the MMA universe as well. How do you think that you're going to deal with that kind of fame or stardom if it does come around the corner?
Yeah, I suppose like it's not something that anyone can prepare for. I actually spoke to Molly about this before. I think like obviously happened to her overnight, where she just went from one extreme to another, and she was like, nobody prepares you for it. It is very difficult. But I think like I have a lot of support. Like there's not like I might get 1 or 2 comments like about like matches or whatever, like in that last fight. But I do have a lot of support. Like I get so many messages from so many people like praising me and saying how well I'm doing. And like I do think I have a lot of support. So I just block out the haters. Fuck them. Like if I get negativity, I get negativity. I'm always going to be me, and I'm always going to stay real. And if someone doesn't like me for that, fuck them.
Yeah, it's a thing that comes when you're putting yourself out there, really. You know, even for myself, before I started doing the MMA work, I'm not a person who would have a big outreach online and stuff like that. But when you're putting your work out there, you're leaving yourself up there for negative comments and positive comments as well. And it's kind of important. I felt it was important for me, especially, to kind of get your head right and don't take the good comments don't let the good comments go to your head, and don't let the bad comments hurt your heart, is kind of what I look at it as. And you know, it's interesting to see. I was interested to see what your mentality was, because you're probably, and I think 2023, which we'll talk about right now, is probably going to be, obviously 2022 was a breakout year, but like what you said, a real breakout year in 2023, where you've got your professional career off the ground, you've got signed up with Invicta, and you see a clear path to where you want to be, and that's the UFC. What are the ultimate goals for you? Maybe I'm assuming you probably have 2 or 3 for 2023 you're looking at. How are you looking to tackle that head on, and what are you looking to achieve?
First off, I want to be me in the cage. So I'd want to just feel more comfortable and let me strike and go, because like I have high level striking, and I feel like I haven't showed that as much. Starting off, it was like gone back to the very start of my amateur career. I was shitting it to get taken down, because I was still learning jiu-jitsu. And then I was like, no, wait, I'll take these down, because then I don't have to think about defending takedowns. I'll just take them down. And then I kind of stuck with that for a while. But then along the way, like, because with the IMAFC fight so many times in 1 week, so I feel like I really let go in them, and I was doing all my kicks, landing, spinning stuff. Like I was mixing it all very well together, and then reset then to my pro career. Kind of step back from that. I was kind of trying to take people down again. Which
why
is
would you
grand.
think that is there more? Would you think there's more pressure because there's more money on the table, and like you said, you have to provide for Jace and stuff like that? Do you feel that maybe those kind of extra aspects maybe held you back a little bit in not wanting to make any mistakes or get caught or something like that?
Yeah, I think, like it's the income, like, come here, like, let's be honest, at the start, your pay isn't great. Like that is the winner loss is not going to make a huge difference right now. But it's losing your zero. No one wants to lose your zero. Do you know what I mean? And then like there was a lot of pressure put on me. Like everyone was talking about, oh, Shauna Bannon's gone pro, blah, blah, blah. Do you know, like there's a lot of pressure on me in that way as well. But I'm just going to go out and start enjoying it, because when I'm having fun, and which I was having fun in my amateur career towards the end, when I'm having fun, I'm my best. I know that myself from years of experience. When I'm out there, when I'm in a good headspace and I'm happy, I fight unreal. So yeah, like that's what I'm working on a lot this year. So that's my number one goal, is I want to be me out there, and I want to let loose and just show me striking. And like, obviously I'm going to grapple. It's MMA.
Yeah, for sure.
But I just want to show a little bit more of me.
Yeah, big.
Number 2 then would be the Invicta strap. So I think, like, with another win or two, I should be well on my way to earning that. 5 or 6 now. Like, I don't see why not. And the girl that has it now, she's like, she fought 6 rounds in one night, fair play to her. But I can see myself beating her. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see her being an issue for me. So 1 or 2 more, and then if she still has it at that stage, I'd be happy to fight her, and then hopefully then that leads in, and maybe I'll defend it, maybe I won't. It depends on how fast the fights go throughout the year. Like, I was active last year, I want to be active again this year. Like, I'd love to have 4 fights this year as well. So if I defend the belts, so be it. But ultimately the main goal is the UFC.
100%. Has there been any discussions with Invicta about your next fight as of yet? Is there a date in place, or a kind of an idea of a rough idea when you might be competing for the first time in 2023?
Yeah, I'm hoping February or March. I was texting Shannon not yesterday, the day before. So she's aware that that's kind of what I'm aiming for, and she said she'd be back in contact with me. So, yeah, February or March.
Has there been any names discussed, or is there anyone on the top of your list, really?
I'll fight anyone.
Yeah.
We all know that I've spoke about fighting Danni, but
yeah,
she went completely silent. So we will probably assume that that's a no again. But we were supposed to fight on Cage Legacy. So that was who I was originally supposed to fight. The yeah was said. So John said, yeah, we were fighting. And then all of a sudden we weren't fighting. So yeah, maybe we'll let it happen in Invicta.
Do you think that's inevitable? Is it inevitable that it's going to happen? Like, the two you guys, you're both in the strawweight division, and you're pretty much on a course to meet. If you both are going to be there at the end of 2023, in my opinion, I think there's no doubt that you're eventually going to meet up with Danni if she's there as well.
Yeah, well, the strawweight division is very big, you know.
Yeah.
Like, unless it's the next fight, I don't really imagine it's going to be anything more than that, because she'd have to be continuously winning the fights then to. Like, I'm on a 4-fight win streak. She's only on 1. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a different bit of a level there. So, like, my next fight is what I was looking for. After that, I'm going to be going for the title, and she'll have to win a few more fights before she's, like, worthy of a title shot, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Why do you think that she's been so silent on everything?
I don't know. We've sparred before. I've grappled her twice a couple of months ago on the one day, and I beat her twice in grappling. I sparred her a good few years ago. She actually came to TMA when she first started off, so that's probably irrelevant. Yeah, I don't know. She has, I can tell she has a bit of a chip on her shoulder with me. She taught like a IMF session, a girl session not last year, the year before we went to Prague, and things she was saying was just strange. It was like she was directing things at me, and it was just weird. But yeah, I don't know what her issue is with me. I've no issues with her, but she's following the path that I'm doing, and we're both in the same division. We're both from Ireland, so I think we need to fight to resolve this situation. Like, there's only room for one. Do you know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah. If an occasion that popped up again where you might be not having, like, you know, with Invicta, I guess I could word it differently. With Invicta, they have allowed you to fight outside of Invicta in Ireland. Do you think that there's a possibility that may happen again for you in 2023, whether it be on a regional show or whether it be on a big show? Like, business is picking up in Ireland. We've got, obviously, Bellator, who are obviously there every year. You've got Cage Warriors that are coming in June. We've got a lot of Irish signings that have been signed up to the PFL as well. And I'm sure the PFL, who have been in London, they might be looking to come over to Ireland as well. Does any of those other kind of promotions, if you got the chance, maybe even for a 1-fight deal or something like that, or is your sole focus going to be on Invicta and going on the road to that title now?
There has been talks on one of them promotions already. So yeah, there might be something announced.
what does the name of the promotion begin with? Like
I don't think I can say.
No problem. That's fair enough. So like that's a kind of a consistent relationship that you're going to have with Invicta, where you're not just solely going to be fighting exclusively for them. There could be a couple of other deals on the table to possibly fight. Obviously, what you want is maybe for Invicta to come over and run an event in Ireland.
Yeah.
They've really done that ever before. Do you think that, you know, with what they have with your ability and your fan base and your support in Ireland, do you think that's a more of a possibility than it ever was before for them to do that?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think that's what, like, I said it to Shannon and she just winked at me. I was like, what does that mean? Tell me more.
She's like me trying to get information out of you, or you getting
No, but my deal with Invicta is exclusive. It's just they weren't able to offer me a fight. So it's basically, if they can't offer me a fight, I'm allowed to fight with someone else. So I asked Shannon, and it obviously has to be communicated. It's not just like I bounce and do what I want. It's communicated with them. Like, I have a lot of respect for Invicta. They're an amazing promotion, and I was very grateful that they allowed me to fight on Cage Legacy, because I wanted to get 4 fights last year, and it just wasn't possible with the way that them fights fell. And obviously they have a roster that they have to go through as well. So I was very grateful that they allowed me to fight on that. But it's not a case that I'm going to be jumping and fighting everywhere. If something comes up and it makes sense, I'll have a discussion, and if they allow me, then yeah. But like, Invicta is where I want to get the belt. That's for sure the promotion I'm signed with.
And the end goal, obviously, as you said time and time again when we've been talking, is the UFC. But if you were to predict, maybe if there was another, would you be interested in going to another promotion before going to the UFC, or would you, for you, is the direct link Invicta title, either defended and then get signed for the UFC? You're not really interested in going and starting anything else in any other promotions before you go to the UFC, no?
No, Invicta is like the highest level for female athletes in the world, so it doesn't really, like, I want to be tested there, and they've been so good to me, and like, I enjoy fighting with them. The whole experience was amazing, so I don't really want to, I'm not like want to hop and change and jump everywhere. Like, I'm set with them, and then if something pops up in the meantime, I can do that. But then the UFC is after that.
Yeah,
like, and with someone else.
The reason I'd be asking that is, like, obviously because you had said that after your last fight with Andy as well, you know, that UAE Warriors had come in and made an offer as well. So I was just curious if, obviously, I'm sure there's lots of other offers that are coming in on top of that as well, and you're a pretty hot commodity when it comes to
not just MMA. I've had a few other offers for different stuff as well.
Oh, as well, really? Not just MMA.
Yeah, I know, but I'm sticking. I have my MMA goals on. That's my journey at the moment. If something else pops up along the way when I'm finished MMA, we'll see. Absolutely.
I won't keep you for too much longer. I really do appreciate the time as always, Shauna. Before we head off, you lost 2 phones in 2022. How many phones are we? How many phones are we going to lose in 2023? You're going to have to get a sponsorship.
I need go on to Apple and ask them to sponsor me, will you? Because I can't lose another phone. Like, you should see me with that one now. And I lose at the worst time.
I know. I was laughing at the story. I was laughing at the story you told on the Talking Bollocks podcast at the Worlds, and then you were unfortunate enough ahead of your Invicta debut to lose it in Walmart as well, or something. Did you? That happened.
Like, it was ridiculous, right? So I was getting a big, huge crate of water out because I'm water loading, couldn't wait. My brain's a bit foggy. Put my phone down on a crate. Lifted the water. Sarah and Paddy were gone. Gone shopping because the place is ginormous.
Huge,
I was like, I haven't the head to walk around doing laps to the shop. I don't have an interest. I'm just gonna go get me water. So I got me water, put my phone down on the thing, picked up the water, and walked away. And left my phone on the crate of water. Got to the end, was like, oh shit, my phone. Went back, it was gone. It was literally 30 seconds. I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, right, maybe I didn't leave it there. And so then I was doing laps to the shop trying to find it, but then I was also trying to find Paddy and Sarah because they're on the missing list, bleeding, getting Halloween costumes and whatnot. I was like, where are you? So I finally found them, and then I was like, what's the story? So then they had to get the mall cop. So the mall cop,
all Dart on the case.
The mall cop looked back on the cameras, found this man. So we're running around the shop trying to find this man that we have a photo of. I'm out in the car park looking into people's cars and all. I was ready to kill. I was like, I can't do this with another phone again. And it was at the start that, like, I wanted to be able to FaceTime Jace and all while I was away, and didn't have to log into other people's shit and all that, whatever. So we're running around looking for him everywhere. I'm like, I'm ready to give him a right hand. I was fuming. I was like, the neck of him, he literally seen me walk away and picked it up as my back was turned and didn't give a bollock.
Oh, no way. You saw it all on the camera as well, did you?
Saw the whole thing. So then he went back and looked at the cameras more. He picked up beers, went and bought his beers and got out and got into his car and went.
Jesus Christ.
Prick. So we didn't find him in the end, but the police and all over there literally came in seconds, took his statement. The next day, the detective and all was on to me. I was like, imagine this in Ireland.
Jesus, yeah.
Couldn't get it.
All go, and all when you're trying to cut weight too as well, running around Walmart.
Like,
it's one
honestly,
way, isn't it?
Nightmare it was.
But hopefully you don't have any mishaps like that in 2023. Hopefully it's all positive. And no, really looking forward to seeing your progression in 2023, Shauna. I'm excited to see what's next for you in Invicta. And yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a big year and very excited, as should a lot of other people be in seeing your progress. And you're going to, I really feel, obviously, like I said, 2022 was kind of setting the foundations for 2023. I feel this is going to be your breakout year, and I'm excited to see what goes down. Hopefully you get the fight figured out soon for Invicta, and we get some news along those lines, and hopefully we get the chance to talk again a few times along the year ahead of your fights, or maybe after your fights as well. I do appreciate I appreciate the time that you give me always, and it's always great to chat to you. Thanks so much again. I appreciate it, Shauna, and Happy New Year to you again.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Happy New Year.